A very good morning to everybody and a very warm welcome to this national launch of AFCA. Could I please ask everybody to take their seats, and then we're going to show a couple of very short videos and then we will kick off with the formalities. Thank you.
AFCA is a very exciting new vision. It's a single one-stop shop to provide consumers and small businesses alike with a simple process for ensuring that if they have unresolved complaints with their financial firm about the services they have provided, that they can find a way to get redress.
The main benefits for consumers are that there is a one-stop shop now. And this is a merger of three organisations, which is the Financial Ombudsman Service, the Credit and Investment Ombudsman, and also the work that formerly went to the Superannuation Complaints Tribunal. Bringing together the work of the three organisations does also mean that we have a more efficient scheme, a more efficient system, and we'll be able to provide much greater support and data back to business to help inform as to what's going on, and also lessons as to how you can do things differently.
Community expectations haven't been met in terms of transparency and accountability in the financial industry, and I think AFCA's role more than ever is key in restoring and rebuilding trust in the industry and making sure that there is accountability to restore trust for consumers and small business.
And going to court is often prohibitively expensive and very difficult for people. So this scheme provides an alternative that is cost effective, that is independent and fair, and enables both sides to try and settle matters rather than litigate them through the courts.
We want AFCA members to help us shape something great. So AFCA will be about not only resolving individual disputes, but will be about working with industry to ensure that it improves its practices, to ensure that it has effective internal dispute resolution mechanisms and systems, and to ensure fair conduct, fair service, and fair treatment for all its clients.
So over the next 6 to 9 months, we will be out and about right across the country. We will be holding workshops with members. We want to hear from members as to what you think of the current services that you've been getting and how we can do things better.
Proactive and customer-focused services are what AFCA will provide. We'll listen to what you've got to say. We'll listen to our stakeholders. We'll look at the information. We'll have highly skilled staff that can deal with the complaint. We'll review it independently, and we'll take into account what's fair in terms of outcomes.
Too often in the past, I believe, it has taken too long to resolve some of these disputes. And actually, justice delayed is sometimes no justice at all. So I'm passionate about ensuring that we operate in a timely, professional and efficient way. But fundamental to all the service has got to be that we are considering things and treating everybody fairly. And we're basing our decisions on what is fair in all the circumstances of the case.
The Australian Financial Complaints Authority, or AFCA, is your one-stop shop to resolve a complaint about a financial product or service. AFCA replaces the Financial Ombudsman Service, the Credit and Investments Ombudsman, and the Superannuation Complaints Tribunal. With AFCA, there is now one place that consumers and small businesses can go if they have a complaint about a financial product or service, like loans, credit cards and short-term finance, all kinds of insurance, investments and advice, and superannuation. Many of us use financial services every day, and when things go wrong, it can be stressful. Whether you're a consumer or small business owner, if you have a problem that can't be resolved directly with your financial firm, AFCA is here to help. So when should you get in touch? If you have a complaint about a financial product or service, your first step is to contact your financial firm directly to see if it can be resolved. If you can't reach an agreement or you're not happy with the answer, AFCA is your next step. You can reach us at our website, by phone, email or mail, and we will guide you through the process of making a complaint. Then we will work with you and your financial firm to find a fair outcome. AFCA's service is fair, free and independent. Making a complaint is easy and is an alternative to going to court. Our decisions are binding on financial firms. AFCA is for everyone, whether you live in East Malvern, East Cannington or East Arnhem Land. We work with consumers, small businesses and industry to resolve and reduce financial disputes and to help improve financial services. To find out more, visit afca.org.au.
You can clap the videos if you wish. Unfortunately, Auntie Diane Kerr, the elder of the Wurundjeri people, who was due to attend today and to conduct the Welcome to Country event, has been
experience in superannuation products and services. We'll have 2 offices, one in Sydney and one in Melbourne, and we're delighted to bring the former Financial Ombudsman Service and Credit and Investment Ombudsman staff, as well as their experience and expertise, on board. So we've reviewed our approach documents for consistency in dealing with particular types of complaints. However, we're not bound by these, and we will be reviewing them and testing them against changes in the legal and regulatory schemes, and relevantly to incorporate any lessons from the Royal Commission. As I've said, we'll continue to focus on outreach activities through forums and webinars, as well as a range of face-to-face events across the country. We're going to take AFCA on a roadshow with a particular focus on Indigenous Australians and our vulnerable and disadvantaged communities. And we will be on the front foot to identify systemic issues, to have early detection of trends, and to work closely with ASIC and other regulators. We will help financial firms design remediation programs that will stand up to scrutiny and deliver fair solutions for consumers and small business in all the circumstances. Before I introduce our Treasurer, I'd want to finish by sharing a little anecdote that the Registration and Referral Team Manager recently shared with me. This team is at the front line of the service AFCA provides. Recently, this manager took an escalated call. The caller was very agitated and ready to take his life. He had given up hope. He was sleeping out of abandoned cars, had no phone credit, and was washing himself in public toilet blocks. The good news is that the issue was able to be resolved with the assistance of AFCA. But the team didn't hear from him until recently, although they did wonder how he was doing. They only had a number that kept ringing out. Then last week, a call came out of the blue. It was a heartfelt thank you, a true message of, I'm doing okay. Through the work that we do, we had made a difference. Someone had found hope again. And this is why AFCA is so important. Stories like this one explain why we all work so hard to make sure each complaint is as we need, to make sure that we work proactively with our members to minimise disputes going forward, and that we help prevent disputes arising in the first place. And most importantly, in conclusion, that everyone who deals with us knows that fairness is at the heart of everything we will do. So it is now my privilege and pleasure to introduce my friend and former parliamentary colleague, the Treasurer, to officially launch AFCA. Josh Frydenberg, as most of you would know, was first elected to the Australian Parliament in 2010 as the member for Kooyong. His early promise and talents have been recognised in a number of significant ministerial appointments. In July 2016, he was appointed the Minister for the Environment and Energy, which was an interesting combination and which he tackled with great relish and zeal. Having previously served, I might say, as the Minister for Resources, Energy and Northern Australia, my old portfolio Assistant Treasurer and Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister since the 2013 election, so he's been very busy. He's currently the Treasurer of Australia and the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Party. Josh has been and continues to be a crucial player in the Australian government that is committed to taking strong action to reform the financial sector. The establishment of the Australian Financial Complaints Authority is a key part of these reforms. It's my great pleasure to invite you, Josh, to formally launch AFCA to the public.
Well, thanks very much, Helen, and apologies for being late. I had a family issue to deal with. Firstly, to Helen Coonan and to David Locke, to Wayne Byers, to Kate Carnell, to Anna Bly, Julie Abramson, and to the many, many distinguished people who are here in the audience. Well, we meet today at a time when the Australian economy is strong. GDP growth is at its fastest rate since 2012. The budget is on track to come back to balance. Our unemployment is at its lowest level since 2012. Australia has a AAA credit rating from the 3 leading rating agencies, one of only 10 countries in the world to do so. So you would think we'd be pleased, but we are frustrated, particularly with the financial services sector. And there's a sense of disenchantment as the long shadow of the Royal Commission is across our economy and community. And for those of you who have read the Royal Commissioner's interim report, it's a pretty frank and at times brutal assessment. An assessment of the culture, the lack of compliance, and the misconduct that we've seen in the sector. It's also pretty frank about the role of our regulators and the fact that maybe they should be seeking to litigate, but always to negotiate. And it's in that context that we are meeting today to launch this new body, which, as Helen said, can be a game changer for the community and for the financial services sector in restoring the public's confidence and trust in our superannuation funds, in our insurers, and in our banks. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a product of the financial services sector myself, having worked in investment banking for a number of years. We want healthy, profitable, strong banks and insurers and superannuation funds. In fact, they employ more than 400,000 people in the Australian community, and it is our largest single sector, the financial services sector. But these companies also have a social licence to operate. And this is where it is absolutely vital that we, as key stakeholders in this room, restore the public's confidence and trust in the system. And I think this new organisation offers us an opportunity to do so. As you know, it has its genesis in Professor Ramsey's review back in 2016. And what Professor Ramsey and his expert panel found was that the existing dispute resolution mechanisms were not as efficient and as effective as they should be, and did not provide the access to the redress for small businesses and individuals that they would come to expect. So the government has accepted all 11 recommendations of Professor Ramsey's review, but the most important of which was the decision to create a one-stop shop for dispute settlement. And this new organisation will bring together, as Helen said, 3 existing bodies: the FOS, the CIO and the SCT. And it will come together and help resolve more than 55,000 disputes in any particular year. And Helen, what you talked about with that one brief anecdote of somebody whose issue needed to be resolved, I think would be repeated right across the community. Because for those people who have a gripe or an issue with their financial institution, it's often much more than getting simply a financial settlement. It's about removing the anxiety from their lives and achieving a sense of justice. So AFCA will have more resources than those 3 existing bodies, and it will have more personnel than those 3 existing bodies. And it will be industry funded, but the Commonwealth has provided over $1.5 million as seed funding for the organisation, and will continue to monitor very closely, indeed with a review of the body after it is been up and running for some time. The type of complaints that will come before AFCA include those against insurers, banks and superannuation funds. And I'm pleased there are higher dispute thresholds at $1 million, double the existing limit at FOS. I'm also particularly pleased that there's going to be a higher ability or greater ability for compensation, particularly for primary or small business primary production disputes at 6 times the level that's in existence with FOS at around $2 million. So, ladies and gentlemen, ASIC will have a key role to play. It's going to have more oversight than it currently does with the existing bodies. I'm very pleased that the information brochures identify what are AFCA's key concerns and key performance indicators, namely to provide a timely resolution, a fair resolution, an independent resolution, to build greater awareness among the community, to increase standards of dispute resolution, and ultimately to bring back trust in this vital sector of our economy. So Helen, congratulations to you and to David and the hundreds of staff in this new organisation. Thank you, Professor Ramsey, for helping make this a possibility today. Thank you to the many ombudsmen and others who are in the audience who will be playing a role. I think the beginning of AFCA is the turning of a new page for the financial services sector. And we know that each one of those 55,000 disputes that are resolved or dealt with will be making a difference to someone's life, much more than the financial amount, which may be the compensation decision which results. So with those few words, I'm very pleased to declare AFCA open and ready for business. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Treasurer, for joining us today and for that warm endorsement. And I can assure you that we have 550 staff who are as excited and as committed as I am to delivering on this promise and delivering fairness and access to justice to consumers and small businesses. This is the end of the formalities today. Thank you all very much for joining us. We would be absolutely delighted if you would make your way outside, and we have tea and coffee and cake and some pastries and things. We know that there is some media here today, If any media would like to remain in the room, then there will be opportunities for us to do any interviews. But thank you.